So, both Mike and Juan, you just arrived this morning, a few hours ago. I mean, me with all the people who are sitting here, we've been attending both the session yesterday and today, and we assisted a sort of very disorientating tour from Mumbai to Lima today, from Johannesburg to Oslo. All about this, issue of architecture being necessary or necessary architecture. So we assisted actually at a very dramatic, radical change of scenario with the backdrop really revolving around itself, which provoked in my mind the idea that maybe this word necessary is like a sort of Russian doll. So there is the word necessary, which contains some other dolls inside, which have the same shape but different sides. Maybe that, inside each of these smaller shapes of the doll, there are different meanings, different way of conceiving and practicing this idea of necessity. So the first thing I would like to you to react with is the question: necessity, is it a limit or a resource?
Is a limit
or a resource? A challenge or a resource? So I don't really need this.
Bueno, yo creo que las necesidades tienen dos caras, ¿no? Hay una necesidad objetiva y hay una necesidad, digamos, producida por los propios anhelos o por las propias culturas. Es decir, la construcción de la necesidad es un proceso extraordinariamente atractivo y complejo hoy en día, ¿no? De hecho, uno de los grandes problemas que tenemos como sociedad es que alguien inventó unas necesidades que no teníamos, ¿no? Y hemos estado como locos intentando satisfacerlas, ¿no? Por lo tanto, yo creo que hoy en día la idea de necesidad, la idea de que hay unas necesidades a las que la arquitectura tiene que atender, quizás sin entrar muy concienzudamente en cuáles son, yo creo que es una oportunidad. O sea, yo creo que es una oportunidad no tanto para resolverlas o para atenderlas, sino para quitarse de encima todas las capas de caspa, no sé cómo se dice en inglés eso, que las supuestas necesidades que nos llevarían a construir una sociedad de progreso nos han inundado, ¿no? Y nos han limitado mucho nuestros movimientos, ¿no?
But how can we verify as architects, as people who work in the project of a transformation of the world, if a desire, as you said before, is a false desire or it's a real one? If the desire is induced by market, by pressure, by everything which is outside the real needs, to put it in another way, whether the desire is a part of our personal ambition and is not, let's say, a universally shared desire.
Bueno, ese es el gran problema, ¿no? Es decir, el asunto sería, nosotros podemos mantener una postura crítica con respecto de los deseos colectivos porque han sido creados por el mercado o por los medios de comunicación, pero sabemos que son frágiles o que no son necesariamente positivos. Podemos combatirlos, pero también podemos ver si somos capaces de hacer algo con eso. Es decir, por ejemplo, podemos ser críticos con la manera en la que los conceptos de sostenibilidad se están manejando, pero al mismo tiempo podemos utilizar el estado de conciencia que eso ha generado para producir una arquitectura más integrada o una arquitectura más honesta, ¿no? En ese sentido, yo creo que las necesidades, insisto, son una construcción cultural cuando van más allá de lo más básico de la vivienda, la alimentación, la educación y el vestido. Y por lo tanto, lo que es importante, lo que yo creo que sería una gran conquista, es que las necesidades pudieran ser diversas, es decir, que cada uno se pudiera inventar unas necesidades diferentes y que pudiera encontrar la forma de satisfacerlas, ¿no? Porque es un concepto realmente resbaladizo, ¿no? Podemos, por supuesto, aceptar que las necesidades existen y empezamos a hablar de otra cosa, ¿no? Pero yo creo que la manera en la que tú lo enfocas, lo que tiene de interesante es cuánto la existencia de esas necesidades, provocadas o no, genera un estado en el cual un espacio en el cual la arquitectura puede trabajar con ellas y puede producir ciertas novedades, puede dar visibilidad a nuevos anhelos de la gente, ¿no? Yo creo que en ese sentido quizá hay una oportunidad extraordinaria para acercar la arquitectura a las personas, ¿no?
Okay. So Mark, would you like to answer the question as well to your personal practice, both from the intellectual and professional point of view?
I think necessity is, at least for us as an architect or as architects, whether we do now this or this architecture, is, let's say, the starting point. It's the resource. And I would like to keep a positive person, a positive architect, so I accept all the energies, the positive and the negative energies of this necessity. And I would like to be open as far as possible as I can do as architects. And that's the one side. The other side is that the world became so complicated or so multi-layered in what the necessity is. There are so many opinions, so many, and not only on the culture, but also on the political or historical levels. And there are different cultures, different histories. There is the Western culture, the Asian, the African culture. So I think it's, at least from my point of view, if I look what Juan described with the Oslo project, it needs a certain training of us as architects that we still can manage the process. Of course, we cannot stay the heads of the process, but of course we have still the ambition to somehow lead it. Also, when we are not in front of the whole group, but we are still have, at least I have still the ambition to let's say, hold the main strings that I can achieve what I want as a vision. And that is what I mean as in trying to come back to the, let's say, major areas of the core themes of architecture. I don't mean it in a classical way. I mean the question all the time stays, how can we manage to achieve what we want? We still are architects. And, you know, if Juan is succeeding to become the museum a very, very black point on the map in terms of this diagram of the digital photographs, then I think you have succeeded. And I'm not sure whether we should really be too open to all these different kind of specialists. I think a position to reinforce what we are as architects and what we can offer, I think is all the time a very good position within these processes, because it's for everybody, also for the decision makers in the end, they need architects. I mean, such a building will never be built without Juan Herreros. It's clear. They need us. So let's take this position in a very subversive way, in a very guerrilla-like manner, because it's the power which is still left to us.
Yes, but in order to practice this guerrilla, I should expect an architect, for instance, if you are committed, receive a commission to build a tower in a certain part of the city, and you personally and technically and professionally, intellectually and socially are convinced in yourself that this tower is a mistake. What do? How do you fight your guerrilla? You try to find the best solution among the limitation you have to work in, or you have the strengthness the honesty maybe, to refuse to work.
Yes, of course. You see, I think to keep up our position as architects also includes that at a certain point when, the process is so developed that we are not anymore in one of these circles, as you showed, but we are somehow just thrown away. We couldn't keep the curves, that we say, no, we are not anymore part of it, and we step back. And it also includes that failure is also part of this process. And very often within these processes, as we experienced it, that we stepped back, in half of the cases, they got us back after a few months. It's so.
Could you tell of any, personal renounces in this sense, any no that you must have said in your?
You can say no, but
yes, but I said. Yes. I know
sure
you can say no, but
that's the question.
Yes.
No? The question is, if we let the system to work in that way, the way means that somebody have the power enough to decide that wants to do a tower in that place, and call an architect. All we can say is yes or no. But the question is, what should change to avoid that situation? What should change that some people with critic position could participate in that discussion before? Why we are always waiting or expecting somebody call by the phone, and fortunately the tower is in a good place. So if we are discussing about the necessity of architecture, perhaps it's because we have the feeling that architecture is not so necessary. It's necessary in some very urban situations, some very well defined, our museums and all this. But there are very vast area of decisions where decisions are made before any architect say anything. And we have accepted that, We have accepted from the last 40 years that we don't want to be part of that discussion. We don't want to decide where the museum has to be built, We want just to have the phone call and asking for the museum, And perhaps one of the problems is that architecture has created this culture of buildings and magazines publishing buildings and architects going around the world visiting buildings.
Of course, because we have students here, so we have to justify our position towards the students, because we always speaking about ethical position, but sometimes we are just justifying ourselves.
Yes, but the ethical position is also a project. So yes, you don't have to be waiting in your office to have the opportunity of demonstrate that you are an ethical person. You have to establish your practice with ethical components. You have to decide how you work with your team in an ethical destination. You have to choose the competitions you do because are the competitions that represent exactly the kind of city you want it happens. So you have to. I think an architect today has to take this in part of the program. This I love this oriental sentence saying,
No,
do only things that are in your future. Perhaps the
Yes.
person calling you to do something, I was not thinking on doing any tower in this moment, no? I'm not going to do, you know?
Yes, please.
May-
Yes,
may
of
I
course.
just-
Of course.
Just that it's clear. The projects we discuss now, let's say, which have incredible public focus on, because there was a competition, there were a lot of parties already involved, and to start a competition, there is a decisive will that we want this building in one or another way, in a Herreros or a Chicongoyer or in a third way. There it's more simple to play the cards. If it's a more, let's say, an office tower, really an investment project, and it's a tower, so it has a certain importance for the city, for the silhouette, but it still stays an office tower. And maybe the market changed, and offices are not anymore needed, and there should be coming apartments in it or another usage. Then I think it's becoming more difficult. And I say we should stay as flexible as we can, but there are certain moments where we have to say no. And whether it works then that the public opinion, the public society accept this no or not, that's then outside of our influence atmosphere. So there are very public projects which I think have a big chance to go in the direction we want, but there are, 90% is not this part of projects. They are really daily, like usage investment projects. And there I think it can become very difficult.
Yes, but I think that as intellectual, as professors, as architects, at the moment we have so many instruments to testify our position and maybe to create a community who could share this opinion. At many times, maybe I would have said we can go in the street with the torch, like your nice people in Oslo. And we did, actually. We did not change the world, but at least we were faithful to an idea of what the architects as a professional, as an intellectual should be. So,
yeah.
Yes.
I can only agree that addressing now the students in the auditorium, that you should become again more political, become again more part of the society as a common. And then you are also an architect. And if you're able to express your political position in one or another sense, in writing or in protesting or in doing films or in making festivals or music or whatever, I think the first important step is already done. I think our generation is very unpolitical, and I think it's, at least in the circles where I was studying and I was growing up as an architect, it's a big lack we have, because we are not in let's say, in very hard times of crisis or political polarization. We are not anymore part of the discussion, of the public discussion in the newspapers. And
we are not necessary to the market.
We are not present. We are simply not present, and I think that's really a lack. You should keep the position in giving your feelings, your opinions, public presence.
Absolutamente. Yo creo que la recuperación de un sentimiento de compromiso intelectual, ideológico y profesional es vital, ¿no? Porque eso es, yo creo, lo que nos devolverá un lugar importante en los procesos de toma de decisiones, que es donde ahora mismo la arquitectura no está. realmente la arquitectura ocurre al final de los procesos y muchas veces o algunas veces maravillosamente cae en manos de unos arquitectos estupendos que hacen un buen edificio, pero creo que el momento en el que realmente el grupo de los arquitectos sea capaz de posicionarse y de emitir una serie de opiniones y de visualizar una serie de posibilidades diferentes y nuevas y someterlas a la crítica, es decir, que sean actores de la sociedad civil decididos, yo creo que las cosas pueden mejorar mucho para la arquitectura. Yo antes decía que los arquitectos harán cada día menos proyectos, en parte porque hay más arquitectos y no tanto que hacer. Harán cada día menos proyectos, pero harán cada día menos proyectos para construir edificios y harán cada día más proyectos que tienen otras misiones. Por ejemplo, yo creo que los arquitectos rehuyen, ¿no?, el ejercer como arquitectos, por ejemplo, como informadores de una situación, como críticos, como formar parte de un grupo de trabajo de cualquier tipo. Siempre se consideran como algo, bueno, quizá detrás de todo ello hay un encargo o puedes participar en ciertas cosas. No, yo creo que hay que olvidarse de esa forma de trabajar y pensar que es así. O sea, yo creo que, bueno, estamos aquí en un congreso organizado por una sociedad, por una institución que es un proyecto, ¿no?, que es un proyecto en sí mismo. O sea, que la fundación que organiza este congreso es un proyecto. Y entonces yo creo que ahí es donde las cosas pueden empezar, yo creo, a tomar otro carácter. Y desde luego a nuestros alumnos, a nuestros estudiantes, pues sería muy, muy importante que se convencieran, ¿no?, de que ellos tienen ya una opinión como ciudadanos y como habitantes y como, ¿no?, que deben plasmar en sus proyectos. Francamente es muy contradictoria la forma en la que toda esa carga ideológica desaparece de los proyectos de las escuelas de arquitectura, ¿no?, y son tan tremendamente apolíticos, ¿no?
Yes, it's true. We should ask the students then why, but we have no time, unfortunately. Okay, I have a second question, which was raised up in my mind when you were both mentioning the idea of context and the idea of new performative materials. So it came up to my mind one of the most famous motto of the avant-garde of the end of the 19th century by the French poet Rimbaud, when he said, "Il faut être absolument moderne," which was the slogan, the battle slogan. It is necessary to be absolutely modern. So, do you think it is necessary to be modern, or it is necessary to be contemporary?
Wow.
Because I think there is a difference between the word modern, to be modern, and to be contemporary.
Yes. Well, I understand that we can't forget that what we are building is a piece of the future, no? So, of course, the word contemporary came to substitute to this idea of the modernity that was some more ephemeral, more related to be on fashion or be à la page, or just to be to kill the heritage of the modern architecture. So the idea of contemporary is I think is strong enough. I'm talking in English. Si realmente lo que quiere es leer.
We got lost in a maze already.
Yes, the globalization. No? Sí.
But yes, we keep all the concept in a maze.
They start relating into Spanish. Okay. No, lo que quiero decir es que la idea de lo contemporáneo tiene el valor de estar empeñada en entender lo que ocurre, ¿no? O sea, de poder describirlo, de poder analizarlo, de poder obtener materiales para trabajar con ellos. Yo creo que eso es ser contemporáneo, pero siempre es algo que el instante de la contemporaneidad en realidad es una condensación del pasado y del presente y del futuro. Es decir, no se puede ser contemporáneo sin entender el pasado, pero tampoco se puede ser contemporáneo sin ser consciente de que estamos construyendo lo que vendrá, ¿no? Entonces, bueno, me gusta más contemporáneo que moderno, pero sobre todo me gusta esa idea de que la propia palabra proyecto es una proyección hacia adelante que da a nuestro trabajo un valor muy especial, ¿no?
Would you like to answer?
We had this quote of Tatlin, not the new and not
neither
the old, but the necessary. So you could also say, but the contemporary. And I'm definitely the opinion that at least we should try to understand what is necessary now. And I'm not at all interested in the word modern. I mean, I think it's a historical term. Oh, Fulvio, we can discuss this later.
Yes. It
I
will
think if
for
we succeed,
another session, yes. Okay.
If we succeed to understand what's happening now, what are the demands and now, and we can give some answers, give some convincing solutions, we are quite a step further. And I think, of course, we need the knowledge of the past. And of course, we have the ambition that what we do now has a certain value in the future. But we have to deal with the now. And that's also the reason why we are quite skeptical about all the architecture which is so orientated to the tradition now. And we are at the same time also very skeptical of architecture which is completely orientated to the future, to the so-called modern contemporary modernism. Mm-hmm. So I think for us, just the contemporary is enough, is demanding enough.
So we are sort of after postmodernist, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I tried to describe in my first statement. That,
I don't want to abuse of both of you and, of course, of all the audience, but just the last question, which actually should be addressed to Luis Galliano, because he called this session Building Order. So I was wondering, what is this building order? Is the fifth Vitruvian order in post-Vitruvian era, in digital Vitruvian era? What do you mean with building order? What you both, somehow try to give an answer implicitly, stressing about the technical components of the structure, the tectonical structure. So maybe you could answer. And then in private, Luis will. Okay.
I think it's a very good question. And it's, if a lot of you were for certain a week ago at the opening days of the Biennale, and I mean, what are we going to do with all these elements now? What are we going to do with all these different separations of walls and facades and ceilings, and that's the question for the order. You also could say of the combination or the coming together, because that's what it's about. I mean, that's what, and it's again, that's why, of course we have to be flexible, of course we have to be open to all what's necessary to do a good project, but I think we have to reinforce what we are as architects, our core area, and that can be quite different from architect to architect, but it's the order, it's the kind of how we put things together, and I mean it's completely independent from what kind of architecture or architectures will be the result. It's the research of the order of the combination.
We are not going to give the floor to the audience? We should, no? There are many people there.
No, it's, I think it's completely full, yes. So believe it or not, they want your answer.
No, I don't. I don't understand very well the idea, but I agree, Mike. But creo que toda esta cuestión de la construcción de la arquitectura o las ideas de orden, en fin, forman parte de nuestra práctica cotidiana, ¿no? Realmente trabajamos con una cantidad enorme de datos, de información y de referencias a las que tenemos que domesticar y organizar y a través de eso expresar algún tipo de compromiso con esa contemporaneidad de la que hablábamos antes. Yo creo que esa efectivamente es una parte sustancial de nuestro trabajo. Vamos, es un extraordinario título para una sesión. Pero yo creo que deberían hablar las personas del público o hacer alguna pregunta, quizá, por 5 puntos. ¿No hay tradición? ¿No hay tradición?
Juan Herreros, como está dudando entre idiomas, también está dudando sobre si vamos a quedar un rato más o no. Hay que aclarárselo. No, no nos vamos a quedar un rato más. Y respondiendo a la cuestión de mi amigo Fulvio, esto de Architecture and Performance o Building Order, no, tenía que ver exclusivamente eso de arquitectura y eficacia y el orden arquitectónico con el hecho de que ambos arquitectos han partido de la lógica de la construcción, que han intentado hacer una arquitectura que se hace desde ese orden constructivo, desde ese orden estructural, y con ello intenta ser eficaces y cumplir de esa manera esta tercera pata del trípode vitruviano de la firmitas. Pero en este momento el mejor orden que podemos satisfacer es el orden de la sesión y no sobrepasar mucho más de 8 minutos las 8 de la tarde. Así que os doy las gracias a todos. Os cito mañana a las 10 con Álvaro Siza y con Vicente Verdú. Gracias.